Well, hey, you are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. It's so good to have you here. You can find this show on any of your favorite podcast platforms. There's the art, looks like that. You got Apple Podcasts, you got Spotify, you got all the rest. Anywhere you want to find it, you can check it out. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Well, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Should Be Fun. As always, my name's Austin Savage. I'm here with my good friend and business partner, Kelsey Zarko, and I'm here with my other good friend and other business partner, Mitch Nelson. Kelsey, hello. Mitch, hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm ready to party.
Kelsey, that was like the most dainty hi ever in the world. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
It's so good to see you. So anyways, Kelsey, everybody knows you. Mitch, people don't know you, but you are the newest addition to the inner circle, the partner group. I don't know what we would call it. You just do
The
stuff
hive.
in a deeper way for this company. But give us a quick introduction. Say hello to the people.
Hello, people. Yeah, I am a partner and a podcast director here at Savage Content Collective.
Yes,
as
sir.
of what? A month now.
A month
It's been
ago.
Yeah,
just a
true.
month and 3 days or something like that.
Mhm.
So, not that I'm counting. No.
The
But
best
yeah,
month and 3 days of your entire life, I'm sure.
It has been really fun. It has been really fun. I feel like interacting with all of the shows that we manage in new ways has been eye-opening and just really cool. It's been a learning experience for sure. But yeah, I mean, you guys
Love
know,
it.
but I'm married, have a kid, have one on the way. And I'm living the life. It's really fun. So
Yeah, what's the name of the one that's coming?
that is such a great question.
Dang it, I just
I know
thought that
what
maybe you would just like accidentally say it.
Oh, dude, we for sure don't have one.
Oh,
It's
dang
not
it.
until it's not until
Oh.
April. No, I mean we got plenty of time. So I know
Podcast
you want.
listeners, submit your name recommendations.
Wow, yeah, totally. I know Austin wants Phineas.
I
which-
Oh,
do.
that's right.
Because
Ben.
this is a joke. It is a joke. But then your other son is named Bennett and you call him Benny.
Yeah.
So I was like, it
Yep.
could be Benny and Finney, and that would be funny. But
I mean,
That
it
is
does sound like
cute.
they're a little dynamic duo, but
yeah.
I don't know if I want to encourage like the kind of dynamic like duo that feels just like a lot of work. Like
They'll
this feels
gang
kind
up
of-
on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Very fair. What have you mentioned you've learned a lot over the last month? What would be like the main thing that you feel like you've learned just like working as a partner here, or that like has come to mind?
Main thing. I mean, truthfully, I don't say this as a segue, but I think it is a great one for what we'll talk about a little bit later. But I feel like there is just, so much to do. And I really value things being done in a correct way is how I view it, which is like to the highest quality. And so just knowing how to balance that with also wanting to, having more things to do. And I mean, doing something perfectly takes a really, really, really long time. In fact, it'll never be done. So you can't do that. And it's just been, learning to do that on kind of a new scale has been kind of interesting.
This is kind of interesting. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about this before, I feel like on like partner meetings and stuff, but Kelsey and I are both like Enneagram 3s. So we're very like achievement minded, just like get stuff done, make progress. And Mitch is an Enneagram 1, which I guess like what is like the core motivation? It's to be right. Is that
I haven't truly really dove super deep on the Enneagram.
Okay.
I did at one point, but it's been a while. But if I remember correctly, it's like a lot of perfectionism, like justice and like right and wrong. Like at least personally, I'll speak from personal experience. I feel like, there's a lot of black and white in the world, and it's like it's either one or the other. And so, when things are done incorrectly, I feel like it's wrong. I mean, you're wrong, you know? So that can be challenging in certain instances and helpful in many others. So
totally. All right. Well, we'll dive into more of that stuff here in a second. But as always, we love to start with a this or that to argue it out a little bit at the front of the podcast. And Mitch, you said that you have one that you're really excited about. So
wow,
very confident.
I don't know if I'm really excited about it.
I don't know if they said that.
That's not what he said. Sorry, that was my sarcasm coming out. But Mitch, what's the this or that for today?
Yeah, this week I think we could talk about this or that, college or professional sports. And I think it's an interesting one. So I have not been a sports fan really at all in my life until I'd say probably in the last year I've ever so slightly gotten into it. Really, I think last year when we did March Madness bracket was like the first time that I really actually kind of followed it and like watched a lot of games.
Yeah.
But yeah, so college or professional sports is what I want to talk about today.
Okay. What's your answer?
I would have to go college. I feel like college sports, I don't know, professional sports, I feel like feels like it leans too far into the entertainment industry that just, it feels like it's not sports.
Yeah, that's fair.
It just feels like money and marketing.
Totally. Yeah, and you grew up in a family that was like super into Purdue, right?
Yeah,
like just sports overall.
I was born in West Lafayette, and that's where we lived for a little bit at the beginning of my parents' marriage and my life. So they were, big Purdue fans. They did not go to Purdue, but they're big Purdue fans and always have been. So that's what Becky and I are trying to get into. Purdue sports. We're watching football, basketball. Yeah, boiler up.
I probably would say professional, but only because that's all I really have a lot of exposure to. I didn't grow up watching sports at all, but I married a man who loves sports so much.
Totally.
And I don't know. I think we probably watch professional. We are big hockey fans in our house.
That's what Austin said earlier, which I feel like is somewhat, I mean, maybe not super unique, but like I don't talk to many people who watch hockey.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely more rare. So we're huge Chicago Blackhawks fans. Now that we live in Dallas, it's fun to go. We've been to a Stars game. So I would say more of that. We follow football, and then I'm not a huge baseball fan. So I don't know. If I had to pick, I would say professional, but I do love the college football, like rallying around like the community that comes from each team because people are so devoted and like the whole thing. It
feels like so intense. It does. Yeah. I do like the vibes.
It's a lot more emotional, I feel like. Like I feel like the meaning in college sports are like it's just different, I think.
Yeah.
But
we are going to a Baylor game next weekend.
So
I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah. So that'll be our first. I've just decided that I'm going to claim Baylor as like the school that I dearly love, and my kids are going to go there, and they're probably not. It's very expensive, but I've just decided this is where I'm putting my allegiance. So we'll see.
Is it fun? I don't even know. Is it in the DFW area?
It's in Waco.
Okay. Which is like a couple hours south, right?
Yeah, it's kind of closer to Houston, I would say.
I see. Okay.
What about you, Austin?
My favorite sports event of the year is March Madness. So you mentioned I think last year was the first year we did it, right? As a company. And we will do it every year for the rest of time. We did a bracket contest, and both Kelsey and I came in dead last. So
we did.
Super fun.
Awesome.
Anyways, but it's my favorite. I love the emotions of it and just like getting wrapped up in all of it. But this year, I don't know. When I was a kid, I used to really like watch sports and stuff, and I liked it a lot. But I haven't really watched sports outside of March Madness for the last like 5 years of my life. But this year we signed a new client, which is Nick's Beer Garden in Chicago, which is a bar in Wicker Park. And for that, I just kind of need to know what's happening with like sports in general. Yeah. So I have watched every single Bears game this season, and that has been really fun. So I don't know if would say I'm more passionate about that now, but it's been like a fun little change of pace, I feel like.
That is cool. We were just in Naperville for a conference, and when we were out to dinner, they had a Bears game on at like this kind of bar restaurant that we were at. And it definitely was kind of like, whoa, I'm like near Chicago watching a Bears game. It felt kind of fun.
Yeah.
It is fun. Legit. I mean, they mostly are not good, but it's okay.
I would like to say all of my hockey knowledge came in handy when we had to write hockey captions for that client.
So true. My caption was like hockey game this Thursday or whatever, like come out and watch
yourself out to our next event.
And I was like, Kelsey, can you please improve this? And she's like, the boys are back in the madhouse tonight at 6:45. Come out and whatever. I was like, oh, that's my gosh.
What we say. I've been well trained.
That's very cool.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I'm telling you. Okay.
That was a fun one, Mitch. Good job.
That was great job. Your first.
They like me. They really like me.
That was good. Okay, so today we wanted to talk a little bit about the idea of perfection. And we were chatting beforehand about some directions that we could go with this conversation. And Kelsey, you brought up something interesting about like how each of us probably relate to the idea of perfection differently. And so I want to dive into ultimately the idea of like letting go of perfection. But before we do that, I think it could be interesting to just go around in a circle and I'll talk about like how we relate to the idea of perfection. I just think that could be interesting. And I'm also curious if your answer and my answer, Kelsey, is the same. But Mitch, you shared a little bit about it. Like when you think of the idea of perfection, like what emotions or thoughts does that bring up for you?
Yeah, I definitely like it. So the idea of letting it go is sad.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't see that particularly as like a fun or something that I would naturally ever want to do, let go of perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm a very particular person. I mean, I feel like in just about every way, things have their place and they should be there, unless there's a specific reason for them to not be.
Yeah.
And, when it comes to work, I feel like, yeah, I mean, in every way, like I love details. I love getting things right. Again, like I said, I feel like there is a right way to do everything. And so, I do feel like I can kind of fall into the mentality of, my way or the highway kind of, because I am right. I mean, Austin, like you had sent me some like kind of feedback on some show notes I had done the other day. And I mean, there were kind of two edits that you had that were, I mean, technically and grammatically kind of incorrect that you were changing. I had them correct and you changed them to a thing that was incorrect. And I mean, I really like, I'm trying to learn. I'm in this phase. I'm like, okay, I just got to learn. Like, I want to do this well, like all this stuff. But I was just like, that like hurts me on the inside because I know that like, he's giving me these changes as if not that, I mean, whatever, we're, best friends, but it's like, you're giving me this feedback of things that need to be done differently. And it's to change something from correct to incorrect.
Yeah.
And so like, that's just, that doesn't make sense. And so when it's, letting go of perfection, I think is obviously essential to kind of scale in whatever way, whether that be on a business level or just a personal kind of capacity level or, in whatever way. But I mean, for me, it is difficult because in many ways I can equate letting go of perfection to starting to do things incorrectly. That is not what it means, but that's how it can feel. And that's what it can feel like in the moment. And that's obviously not fun. So learning to do that and actually not only learning it, but actually doing it is challenging, but I think it's really good and a good practice.
That was deep. I have a lot.
I was just going to say
questions.
that was deep.
Wow.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
I love it. Kelsey, when you think of the idea of perfection and letting go of perfection, like what does that bring up for you?
Yeah. I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but I'm curious if you think I am. No, I don't think I am at all. I would say I just really love to like move the needle, get things done, check things off my list. Like that's a very big Enneagram 3 of like, I just want to accomplish something. But I will say like in my personal life, I'm a really big perfectionist about just like how my space feels or like how my house is cleaned up. Like I can't, all about my sensory quirks, but I can't like think straight if things are not put away or not in their right place. Yeah. So I think that's more where perfectionism comes in, but probably not so much in my work.
Yeah. I mean, this is just me, like you sort of said, if I think that you are, I don't think that you are in like what you do, but I do think in like your rhythms and systems, you kind of are. Like, I think that you like hold on tightly to like, the flow of what you like want something to do. So like, if you have to adjust that, sometimes it just takes a second for you to be like, I have to, change the plan kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah. I am not a perfectionist, I would say, but to me, like perfection, and maybe this is connected to like the Enneagram 3 thing, perfection to me is more about the result than it is about like the house, like how one specific thing is done. So to me, if what I want to get done gets done, then it was perfect enough to accomplish what I needed. So I feel like that's the interesting thing too, which has helped me like in the content marketing kind of like world in a sense, because it's like at the end of the day, we just need to get content out, and that's always balancing, right? We want it to be good stuff that, gets like
is
value
excellent.
across,
Yeah.
but at the same time is just content that is being
Mhm.
shared as well. So like kind of balancing that. So I don't know if it's an Enneagram 3 thing, or I don't know if it's just
Yeah.
like a me thing, but that's what I would say.
I mean, it is definitely just like, right. And really to anybody, I think if you think about it, it is like a wall. Like, I mean, it prohibits
Yeah.
you from really doing anything. I mean,
Totally.
it's like, if you try to make it perfect, like it'll never get done. I feel like, that kind of saying or phrase or idea floats around everywhere. And it's because it's true, but it's hard.
Yeah.
I think that the word, like you kind of almost have to define it too. Like we
Right.
are passionate about putting out high quality content for our clients.
Mhm.
We're not, but if you replace high quality with perfection, that's I think where you get kind of stuck in the,
Right.
it's just never going to be good enough to click publish or to put it out there or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think Austin, like you said, like, it's for you, it's like you see kind of the results of something as being like kind of the, the definition of perfection, maybe in that sense, like, has this, built or engaged a community, has this, encouraged someone, has this, helped make sales or whatever, like the thing is like, and if the answer is yes to those things, then like, yeah, it was perfect because that was the goal. And it's done. It's accomplished its goal.
But that's also like, I do miss out on things because of that too, because I think that there are, even times like where people who have just like your kind of perspective of perfection too, Mitch, just really value different sides of content too. That sometimes I will ignore because I'm focused on the end result rather than like maybe always the process or the beauty in the creation kind of thing. And so, I mean, I definitely think that that's where the value of multiple people kind of having interactions on creating content can really come into play, because even just the three of us have differing viewpoints all working towards that same goal that I think really balance each other out in some good ways. So that's cool. Mitch, I'm curious for you. So in your other role, you lead marketing at a nonprofit that has a podcast that's nearing 1 million downloads, which is awesome. A great milestone that's coming up. Like there's a lot of content production that goes into like managing a podcast of that size. And I'm curious, how has letting go of perfection or just perfectionism overall, how has that perfectionism served you in that? And how have you had to let go of perfection in managing that?
Yeah, I think it has served me with being able to feel like, I feel like it provides me with a level of confidence with, I don't know, like, maybe somebody would be nervous if a podcast episode was going to get 30,000 listens in a month or something like that. I feel very confident that say, it was done well. And so we've given our best effort, and it is really like we paid attention to the details. And so I feel like I have like it serves me with providing a sense of confidence. I think it can hinder me. I think particularly in the last about a year ago, I guess it was, like we brought on a team member to my team. Obviously, like when I'm doing everything, the idea of perfection is, at least in my mind, within reach, when I know it's not really, but I can maybe accomplish some sort of perfect or something. You incorporate other people, and obviously that becomes impossible. Or at least much, much, much more difficult. And so I think that has been something that, my standards or my idea of what done it looks like maybe are inappropriate to somebody else, or I mean, maybe that's a strong word, but just like unrealistic to put on somebody else. Like I'm maybe comfortable pushing myself to a certain, I don't know, to a certain level or whatever. But you have a team of people and stuff, and that, just becomes impossible. And so I do think that kind of the revolving door of deadlines that, it's just like the podcast always goes out, the blog always goes out, the emails, the letters, the whatever, it kind of out of necessity, whether you love it or not, like it makes you have to kind of be like, this has to be done right now. I think that the thing for me is just like, how do I feel about it? And if I feel like I've done a good job and maybe accomplished this perfect, which I know is, again, like not real, I can feel confident. If I feel like, man, I didn't get to look at every pixel on this thing or whatever, then I can, have negative self-talk, and obviously that's not helpful. So
Yeah. How have you kind of disconnected the message of like, so you said letting go of perfection kind of like is equal to doing things incorrectly a little bit, like beforehand. How have you kind of learned to balance that in your own mind?
I think a big thing that has just been really encouraging to me is like, maybe I do feel down on something, rightfully or wrongfully. Like I feel down on the way something went out. I might still get an encouraging note from, my boss, or I still might get an encouraging comment online or a response to an email. And it's like, man, I didn't think that was a good one, or I didn't think that was my best effort, but why does this seem to be getting a better response than anything else I've ever done? It's almost kind of like confuses you a little bit, because you're like, oh, well, if I can do things that are valuable for people and it wasn't perfect by my standard, then what does that mean?
Right.
And I think then you just obviously kind of come to realize like, like maybe these standards are too high, or maybe they're not equal with the value, and then you kind of just start to realize like, it's not equal to the value. It can be helpful, valuable, encouraging, whatever, even if it is not perfect. And that is, kind of, you have to think about it, and you're like, oh, well, then who am I? Like,
Totally.
But I think those are great places to be, because you come out on the other side and you're like, man, maybe I like things a certain way, and if I can do it, that's great, but I don't have to provide value.
Yeah. Kelsey, I'd love for you, and you might have thoughts to follow up on that too. But kind of as Mitch was talking, and I was thinking about what you and I have talked about a lot before, about how in a lot of ways, like imperfections often connect to the idea of like human, like, like people are like imperfect. I don't know, like what comes to your
that's
mind?
exactly what I was thinking of. It actually, when you were talking, Mitch, it reminded me of what I shared on our last episode when I had gone and visited a college and talked to some students there, and they asked about like, is it more important to have consistent content or quality content? And so you can go listen to the full answer. We broke it down a lot, but it did remind me that sometimes we see our clients have, maybe it's not like the perfectly executed graphic, or like the picture isn't perfectly edited, but the message is just really raw and that connects. And so I think sometimes people love to see a little bit of just that edginess and grittiness to like what it means to be human and a person. But I think there's so many, like, I think you can, you can answer this. Do you feel like you can still be a perfectionist, but share like vulnerable content? Like, is that hard for Enneagram ones to share more of that deeper, like thinking and vulnerable things with people?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I think also kind of just like my personality is to maybe like just like have a smaller circle to share deeply with. But I think that, I don't know, in some sort of weird backwards way, like I almost feel like there's even a right way to share imperfect thoughts or something, like, which I mean,
that's what I was wondering about.
Like, just feels like so, kind of confusing to, say it out loud, but I don't know. I mean, I would not say just, in all the other ways a person is made up. I don't think I'm one to like really share my deepest feelings very often, or anything like that. And I truly don't think that it's because it like presents some sort of like, I don't want to be seen as imperfect. I'm very comfortable being like, I know I'm for sure not, and that's totally fine. Cause I just, the way I view the world just doesn't, allow for that. But, I don't know. I don't feel like I've answered your question, but,
that's okay. I just was thinking through, I think that makes sense. I was thinking through like our listeners who maybe are doing all their content on their own, and just thinking through like, if you are someone who wants to do things perfectly, does that feel hard to like kind of let those raw edges show? Totally. But I think, like you said, there's still like you can still feel good about the right way in your own mind to be able to share that with people.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So we always love to kind of close out our episodes just like an encouraging word to our listeners. So Mitch, we'll let you do that today, just since, this is your first episode. But what's just one piece of encouragement, or like kind of one final piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah. I mean, I think I mean, for anybody who maybe can resonate with a feeling of like wanting to be perfect or having perfectionist tendencies, I think that if you have never, just kind of come to terms with or like wrestled through, like, surely there have been times where things have not been perfect, so it's like, I just would encourage you to really just like hang out there for a little bit, because I think that what can result from that is not that you are somebody who is, wrong or, weak or anything like that, but you can, it almost like builds up a certain level of confidence in, I can do things well and I don't have to be perfect. And there is kind of a tension that can, really in a very healthy way, like be managed.
Yeah.
So I would just like encourage people to sit in that. For people who maybe don't, I think that obviously like it hasn't been as relatable to say like, wow, why does that guy care so much about all this dumb stuff? But I would just encourage maybe to like consider, I don't know. I think that it just like working with other people, particularly if you work with others or have any sort of relationship, working with or, being friends or married to a perfectionist, I think that I would encourage to just consider, what kind of thoughts might be having. Not that they think they're better than you or that they think that, they, are stronger or better, but that they really care, deeply. And this is how it's being expressed. Not that they're right, but, that there is like a valid kind of perspective there.
Yeah, that's good.
That's really good.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, there's a little conversation about perfection. That was kind of fun. And I feel like we could have made that like a 2-hour episode. Jeez.
Probably.
That was good.
I also reminded me of our episode 14. So if you want to dig more into perfection, we have a whole nother episode from a different lens. So I feel like this is a hug and pat on the back. And the other one was like, and don't do this.
Yeah. What was that one? 4 ways perfectionism like limits creators or something?
Limits creators. Yeah. Great thoughts on both of them. But I loved hearing.
Yes.
I agree with what you said, Mitch. This gave me so much perspective into just working with you and understanding like how perfectionism kind of comes out in your own mind and your own life. So I loved it.
I love it. All right. Well, we are cheering all of you on, and we hope you have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you right back here for the next episode of Marketing Should Be Fun.